My name is Tom Tresser, and I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. And I would like if maybe Gustavo could take the floor for a minute and just sort of set us up here.
All right. This is Tom Tresser. I know you guys received the email that I shared with you guys this week about the work that he's done, how involved he's been in terms of activism. I know you work in the legal profession. I forget the actual title. Um, but he's been definitely a disruptor in many ways and for a very long time. My biggest one was the Olympic protest, and what he stood for there. Um, and I love the fact that he's been connected to Icy Stars for a very long time. Definitely, I think since the beginning, right, Tom? Or early stages.
Well, I've known Sandy for over 40 years, but
Okay,
she actually brought me in to start teaching civics for cycle 27
okay,
in
that's a long
Chicago,
time.
and we're on now cycle 54.
Yeah, so that's a long time. So the connection that you have with Sandy, I remember you mentioning that she also supported your organization at a time. And so I really love the way in which you both emphasize or like exemplify the give to get philosophy that we have here at Icy Stars, right? And how you both mutually support each other's passions and dreams and like professional pursuits. And that's what this civics session is about. It's at the core of Icy Stars is the idea that we believe you all to be leaders and we want you all to become agents of change. And so being introduced to civics as you are today, beginning to understand what civics means, what that means for you in regards to how you get to show up and better understand your role in society and the impact that you could have is the reason why we're here. We allocated a lot of time, 8 hours, um, to the civic sessions and to your understanding of it because it's really important for Icy Stars as an organization. We believe that as you grow in your careers, in your and improve and change your lives and the lives of your family and friends, we want you to also change your communities, right? And whatever that could look like. And so that's why Mr. Tom Tresser is here. He facilitated the sessions or has been facilitating sessions for Milwaukee, for Chicago, and he facilitated this same session for Cycle One. And I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with. I know I mentioned your burning project or your burning issue to start thinking about that and what you're going to present on and what's going to be important to you. And so I'm excited to see how you all take all this in, how you all grow, and what you all have to say. So I know you're in good hands.
Thank you, Gustavo. Thank you. So a little bit about how we work the class. Obviously, we're all going to be meeting via Zoom on the same link. Now, I've prepared a website for you, and I will place that link into the chat as well. Here it is. And here is the website. You can see this right here. I think you can see that now. And here is the URL in the chat. So what is on this page is a lot for you. First of all, it's just simply some of the links that we need, the Zoom link, the link to your assignments are all here. I think, Gustavo, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're going to want all the interns to schedule a time with me.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Okay, so please, interns, the link is here to Calendly. It's pretty simple. You just click on it. You'll see my calendar. You pick a time that's good for you, and boom, it's kind of automatic. And we're recording this session, and right on this page, underneath, you'll see here class number one, kind of the bullet points, etc. Underneath that, will be like our archives. So there'll be the video here, right? If we do small group work, whatever we produce will be here. If there's any kind of handouts or other kind of goodies, you know, that I transmit to you via PDFs, it'll be here. So this is kind of your your one-stop shop. If there's something that's interesting you, you can come back and watch the thing over again. And of course, we'll be recording all your presentations at the end. And again, all that will be parked on this website. But there's also more here. Just again, if you get the Civic bug, you can go to the home page, right? And you'll see links to all the other cycles since cycle 41, as well as your predecessors in Kansas City, cycle 1, and you can go check them out and see what they did in case you're interested along the lines of the presentations that you're going to be asked to make. You can see with some variations, sometimes we ask your predecessors to do different things, but you can check them out and see kind of how they rolled. Also, there's a page here called Class Resources. Yeah, right here. That has all kinds of civic information and reports, presentations and stuff that we just don't have time to do in this class with you, but they're kind of artifacts from past sessions. So again, if you get the civic itch and you want to see, like, what did we cover over the years? We covered inequality, we covered power, we covered economic injustice, all kinds of topics that we just don't have the time to do now, but we had done in the past. So this is also available for you if you wish to look at it. All right. So what are we gonna do in this class? Well, we're gonna have, as Gustavo said, 4 sessions. This is the first. We're gonna get into this concept of civic engagement pretty deeply. And those are the first 3 sessions, okay? So we're going to try to give you a good foundation from my 50 years in this work. What the heck are we talking about when we talk about civics? And we're going to do some group sharing in a minute. And that'll be part of each of our classes. We'll be breaking up into small groups. You'll be asked to do something, noodle on something, and report back. That's kind of how we roll. We really want to hear from you. Okay, that's the first 3 sessions. The 4th session will be turned over to you, and you'll be doing your presentations. Again, the instructions are online. I hope you've all had a chance to read them. But basically, they're going to be based on your burning issues. In a minute, we're going to ask each intern to introduce themselves, to say where they live or where they stay, and what is your burning issue. Your presentations in 4 weeks will be based on that. All right. You're going to be asked to do a presentation of 10 to 12 slides, something like that. And we'll go over that again in session 2. But basically, it all starts with your burning issue. But your presentation will be based on that, and you're going to have to do a little research, okay? What organization in Kansas City is working on that issue? That's part of the research, and you're going to tell us a little bit about it and a few other things. We're going to ask for some data. So part of your presentation is you're going to show us some slides, what I call data porn, graphic information that you're going to grab from the web that brings your burning issue to life. And there'll be sort of like maybe trends or distribution charts. So tell us how bad this issue is. Where's it going? The information that you share, the graphics will be helping us, the viewers and listeners, to get how big a deal your issue is. So, for example, if your burning issue is mass incarceration of African American males in America, the kind of graphs that I would expect to see would be, well, just what are we talking about? You know, year by year. Maybe something that compares America to the rest of the world. You follow me? Maybe something that describes distribution of of arrests in the state of Missouri. And when we look at these graphs, we're going to go, oh my God, I didn't realize. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get that kind of feeling. I didn't realize how big a deal this issue is. So that's what you're trying to convey with your 2 or 3 graphic slides that show us these things. Okay, well, then this is a gift from me. It's a magazine called Yes Magazine. It's a social justice focused publication, and every issue focuses on a different area of life. So as I was saying, the issue that I've gifted to you is from about 1.5 years ago, and it's called The New Social Justice. I think it's awesome. All right. So this is a little bit about me. You've got my various email address. You got my phone number. I'm always available. My news is I've got a book coming out in September called No Game Chicago, How a Small Group of Citizens Derailed the City's 2016 Olympic Bid. So I'm very excited about that. So now I think we're ready to kind of hear from you guys. So let's have some time for introductions, and I will just call on you as I see you in the screen. And the deal is you just unmute, say your name, where you stay, and what's your burning issue. All right. Diamante, could you please go first?
Yes, I can. Good morning, Tom. My name is DeMonte Curtis. I am, you say where I stay? Like where I live at? Yeah, I live in Overland Park, Kansas. Um, I'm from the Kansas side. Everyone else is from Missouri, so they don't really like me too much, but I am from the Kansas side. I'm from Kansas City, Kansas. My burning issue was equality amongst men and women in America. I think that it is a burning issue for a lot of people. I think it's an issue that I don't know if there will ever be a what's the word I'm looking for, resolution, but I definitely think that it is a problem.
Well, thank you so much for going first. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. A special hand clap for the person who goes first. It's often difficult. Thank you so much. Braxton, please.
Yes. Hi, Tom. How are you? Uh, my name is Braxton Dennis. I was born and raised in Kansas City. I reside in the Raytown Independence area. My burning issue is racism and inequality in the healthcare and education system.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brandon.
Now, hearing about what this is a little bit more about. My name is Brandon Davis. I live on Drum Farm on Southeast Summit Road. Don't know if this would be even an issue, but like something I like noticed. I'm like, Zapaya, this is a sickness. It's really accountability, and with that, a little bit of responsibility and corruption, but then just general areas, whether it be high places or just personal life.
Yes. Okay. So again, that's a great start, and we want to sharpen that up and try to make it specific to maybe Kansas City. Like for example, in Chicago, we have officials getting arrested all the time. I mean, Chicago, sadly, is the most corrupt city in America. So we could have a long conversation about that, right? Here in Chicago. So maybe there's something that's particularly bugging you in Kansas City, maybe. So I just asked you to think a little bit more about that, and so we can try to zoom in and get a little more clarity. Cool? Cool. Okay, thank you. Ashana?
Hello, my name is Ashnafi Mekonnen, and my burning issue is I know I wrote the mental health of young adults, but not just the mental health, but also the development of young adults. I feel like as a society, we do a huge disservice to a lot of our youth in equipping them to deal with and handle life.
Got it. Again, a pretty broad area, so we'll narrow that down, but it's a good start. So there it could be young people health, perhaps young people in justice, young people, so we'll try to get a little more clarity, but I see where you're headed. Thank you. Maya.
Good morning. I'm Maya Carroll. I was born in Illinois, raised in Denver, Colorado, and I've been in Kansas City since 2019. My burning issue is the criminalization of homelessness in the city.
Got it. Yes, people being unhoused, huge issue in America. Perhaps 20,000 individuals in the city of Chicago every night. Don't know where they're going to stay. Also, people who are moving from place to place, so sometimes they're miscounted, because they're not actually on the street, but they still don't have like a house, but they move around a lot. Huge issue, especially for young people. There's thousands of young people in our school system that are in the situation. And obviously, it affects their ability to learn. Huge issue, huge issue. So we'll be interested to hear more what you think about that. Gregory, please.
Hey, I'm Gregory Harris. I was born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. I think, I don't know, I'm passionate about a lot of issues, but I think if I had to pick one burning issue is the lack of unity in my community. I feel like that makes us vulnerable to a lot of the other burning issues.
Okay. Now that's gonna take some noodling. So we can talk about that is how does that show up? In other words, could it be bad education? Could it be lack of employment? Could it be, what would be a reason necessarily why we're disunified? People don't know their history, maybe. I don't know.
Exactly. That's
Right.
it.
So a couple of thoughts just came to me as you were speaking, so I don't want to speak for you, but maybe we can noodle on that and try to zoom in, because it'll help you figure out who's solving it, right? So if say you think that it's because we lack a good history of ourselves and of our how we got here kind of thing, if that's how you
knowledge
want to go.
yourself. Yeah.
Right. Then we would say like, well, what organization, in the KC area is kind of on that trip, who's working in that field. But if you said, no, that's not really an issue. The real issue is because we don't have enough money. We've been kept down, or, we don't have economic opportunity. If that's where your brain goes, then we would look, in like a different place, right? For the organizations that are solving. Okay. But you got my attention. So thank you. Roger, please.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Roger Warren, and my burning issue is well, it's kind of like two, but my main one is evening up the wealth gap and creating an economic system for people in my community as well. Instead of having to always reach out to different cultures, we should be able to create our own, so we can look into ourselves, and that kind of adds to the same with Greg's issue is unity.
Very, very deep, very profound. I share your concern. I'll reveal my burning issue in a few minutes. So spoiler alert. So that kind of focus takes you into the world of economic development, community development, even financial literacy, I would put to you, would be potentially an organization. Say if we knew there was an organization in KC that was like kind of the icy stars, but for banking, or for, it's like making people smart about finances, that kind of thing, right? Or say there was an organization that was trying to put banks in the community, somehow get people to open savings accounts, right? Because the banks have fled communities of color, that might catch your eye, right? And that you might go that direction. But also, Roger, you picked the music for this time, and we didn't have you on. But could you tell us, while we got you, why did you pick the song "On the Level"?
Oh, I don't know. It's a nice song. It has a nice beat. It has a nice melody. I look at it like a song that, Cause see, like when I listen to music, I think of like like a early Saturday afternoon, and you like head into the car wash, and you just washing your car, and then after your car is shining and it's dry, you play that song, and it just takes you to another place on another level.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
So I also will have the song of the week also will be posted on the website. So in case you guys forget what song was played, you can just go back to the website and click on the YouTube video, and you can relive going to the car wash with your shiny car on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, heading to the drive-in or something, you know, going to the DQ. All right, thank you. Ken Marion, is that how I say it?
Yeah, close enough.
Thank
Kimorian.
you.
Name's
Cool.
Kimorian Kirkland, born and raised Kansas City, Missouri. And my burning issue is domestic abuse because I feel that it's not just physical, it is also a mental battle. And it doesn't matter who really it is, anyone can put that abuse upon you, whether it be family, close friends, or just some stranger.
Got it. All right, thanks. That's very clear. And I'm sure there are a number of groups that are in that space. So, you know, you will be able to find, I think, some powerful groups, you know, in the area that are working to solve. And Maya. Oh, we already did Maya. I think that's everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, that's everybody. Cool. Well, so thank you all for sharing on this level, and you can see how we're heading. And part of what we're going to be thinking about as we get to know each other a little better in this way is what commonalities do we see from one another's burning issue? Is there any theme? You know, is there connections? And I'm beginning to see some already, right? And it's not surprising because everyone has lived experience. You lived in some areas that are sort of next to each other. You know what I mean? You're all different, but you have some things that are the same in some ways. So it's not surprising that we will see some themes, as well as some things that maybe are completely different from one another as well. So we'll be kind of on the prowl to keeping our eyes open for these as we move along. Okay. So this is a little bit about me. I used to be an actor. I have a little bit of an odd background. I was a theater producer. I also worked in an area of community development. So for those of you that are kind of in that tip of community economics, community businesses, jobs and the economy, if that's where your brain is going, I've done a lot in that space. I work for a place called People's Housing here in Chicago that built and maintained affordable housing for people who had low and very low incomes. So these are individuals with low incomes, but yet we were able to give them housing for maybe 60 to $100 a month. I designed executive education programs for an interesting organization called Executive Knowledge Works. And I worked for an internet startup. That's right, back in 1999, back in the heyday of the internet, called ourhouse.com. And that was the online play for Ace Hardware. Ace Hardware, going online. Yeah, buy your hammers online. It made no sense, but never mind that. I can tell you a whole story some other day about how we burned through $130 million. And this is all I got to show for it, kids. That's my watch. And I got a t-shirt. But honestly, it was an amazing experience. I was the 16th employee. We went up to 140. I was doing marketing and sales and the online sales environment, I guess you could say, right, including search and other things. But it's a crazy story about how had we come to the marketplace maybe 6 months earlier, my stocks would have invested, and I would be speaking to you from some island somewhere in the Virgin Islands or somewhere, because I would be filthy rich. But as it is, I just had good experience. I met a lot of beautiful people, smart people, and the whole company flamed out. And now if you type in ourhouse.com, you'll be taken to the tool space on Amazon. So they bought our charred remains after we burned through 100, I don't know, 130, $140 million. All right. But mainly I'm an educator. I'm a civic educator. That's the final little part of my little slide there. I've taught at 6 universities, and the thing that I love to do most, my good people, is what I'm doing right now with you. This class that I teach called Civics 101 is the most meaningful civic thing that I do. And I count myself highly privileged that Sandy Castro, Gustavo, and his colleagues have permitted me to come and do this work with you. So this to me is sacred time. And I'm forever, ever grateful to IC Stars for it. I was born in New York City, and I came to Illinois in 1980 to be a member of the Illinois Shakespeare Festival. I call myself a public defender, and hopefully you'll kind of get to know me a little better and you'll know why I could do that. I've started or led 14 nonprofits, 14. And you know that IC Stars is a nonprofit, right? Yes. And you know why that's a special thing, right? We don't have time really to get into the intricacies of nonprofit management, but I think it's worth holding just a second to think about it. A for-profit company, which is where you're all heading, to go work in the tech sector, makes the things, yes, and sells them, right, at a price greater than it costs to produce them, and that's called profit. So you have a cell phone, you have a pen, whatever, you have a shirt, and you pay money for all those things, and the makers of those things enjoy a profit. If they suck and you don't buy those things, the company goes away. But in the case of a nonprofit like IC Stars, what is the product? Anybody want to take a guess?
People.
Yeah, I'm looking at them. You, the interns, are air quotes product, but really, it's really not. Yes and no. Isn't the outcome? What would be the ultimate outcome, do you think, of your journey through IC Stars and IC Stars being successful? What's the real thing going on here, or another thing going on here besides you getting trained?
I would say become better people in the community and to be able to
Yeah.
get back.
Do we agree? I think we agree. Yes. So in a way, the product of IC Stars is, yes, you all getting excellent jobs and moving through your careers, families, etc. Should you choose to buy a house or whatever, how you choose to navigate life. But isn't it the real payoff is like you will make your communities better. We're going to have more good shit, more democracy, more justice, yes, more good stuff instead of bad stuff. And that's really what Sandy is giving America, I would say. Now here we are in cycle 2 in Kansas City, cycle 54 in Chicago, cycle 16, I think, in Milwaukee, and more cities to come, right? And so, if you think about that, that is a huge thing. That is not a product like I can hold in my hands, right? Necessarily. It's not something I can pick up and, it's not that. But it is very precious and deserves a lot of thought, attention, and care. And that is what is happening at IC Stars. Okay, I've done 14 of them. None of them approach the awesomeness of IC Stars, I'll say, but I have a lot of experience in that field. All right. Here are the classes I've taught over the years. Just a lot of different classes with civics and leadership, creativity, community organizing, things like that, just for your information. These are the groups I've started. Again, I won't bore you with the details, but they tend to be in 3 groups: the arts, community development, and civic engagement. So those would be kind of the 3 areas that I've chosen to invest in. These are some of the groups. Oh, and by the way, I ran for office in 2010. I was the Green Party candidate for the Cook County Board Presidency. So the county, each county has its own administration, like elected representatives, and they're presided over by a president who's elected county-wide. And I ran in 2010. I got 54,000 votes. My successful opponent, Tony Preckwinkle, who is the incumbent to this day, she got 940,000. Of course, I only spent $10,000. But I'll tell you, I was taken seriously, and it was a life-changing experience. And we can have a side conversation about that if you wish, about running for office and what happens when you knock on a stranger's door and say, "Hi, I'm Tom Tresser. I'm running for office. Would you vote for me? What's on your mind?" And that is a conversation, my friends, that is just doesn't happen every day. People don't open their doors to strangers, normally, and then open their hearts, and start talking about things that keep them up at night that are serious, serious issues. It just is not normal. But in the world of politics and civics, it is kind of. And as will the conversations that we're going to have with each other. I started something called the Civic Lab in 2013. It was America's first co-working space dedicated to civic engagement. So here's some images from that. It was an amazing time. Again, a separate conversation. I started the Power Institute with my good friend, Jonathan Peck, an African-American educator and organizer. And we've trained thousands of people in civics over the years. And as I mentioned, I got this book coming out in September. And here's my burning issue. And this is what we were talking about before, I think, with Roger. To me, this is my burning issue is economic injustice. So we kind of have maybe share some issues there. And here's a fun fact. Strange but true. I used to be a hippie. If you don't know what that means, you're gonna have to Google it. Oh my God, but look at that hair on that kid. Holy mackerel. This is from 1970, friends. Anyway, that's a little bit about me. You're very kind to indulge me for looking at that. But now it's time to ask the question, why do civics? Why do civics? All right. So what I'm going to do right now is send you into small groups. All right. So your assignment is to discuss amongst yourselves, why do civics? There's no wrong answer. Please go to that web page, that shared document, put the names of your group where it indicates it, and then just put your thoughts on there, whatever you guys come up with. And we will spend 5 minutes doing this, and then we'll come out of the small group work, and I'll ask each group to report. So one of the members of the group, just point yourself as the reporter, and you'll have a minute or two to share with the rest of us what y'all came up with. All right, so here I am. I'm going to send you into your small groups, 3 small groups right now. All right, so that's our first small group work. Thank you for doing that. Group 1, what do you got? Why do civics?
So we came up with a couple arguments. My particular argument is that humans are chaotic by nature. When left to their own tendencies, we become self-destructive, and we need civics as a reference for structure to maintain our civilized lifestyle.
Oh wow. Whoa. That's deep. Okay. And by what I take from that is, if we don't do civics, like if we refrain from civics, it's chaos and death and destruction.
Not immediately, but the potential is very present. I grew up in a community where people were not civically educated, and there's a clear contrast between civic educated community and a non-civic educated community.
Okay. That's pretty important. And if you want to add on that, or if your other teammates want to add on that onto the Google Doc, tell us more. This is great. Group 2, why do civics?
I think it's just like a human responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility to contribute to their community, the improvement of their community. I mean, we all live here. We all take what we need, in this life, and we all should also replenish back to the world what we take, or even more.
Replenish. Boy, that's great. I love that word, replenish. So like a cycle.
Right.
And what I hear from you is, what it's inferred is, if you do not replenish, then we're going to run out.
That's right.
Right? So I take mine, good for me, and I don't care about the next guy or my children, really.
Right.
So I'm fat, I'm fed, and I'm not looking forward.
Right. And if we don't teach that to our children,
yeah.
If none of us ever teach that to our children, it'll be lost in the next generation.
Right. And so what I'm hearing for you, that is not responsible or even possible, really. I mean,
it's not responsible.
Not responsible. I guess it's possible. I guess it's possible, obviously, but
it's against everybody's purpose, I think.
Yeah. But what I'm hearing is, like, if we all ignored that, then we're kind of on a dead end path, even though we may not know it or admit it.
Right.
Wow.
Correct.
And the other thing that popped into my mind, Gregory, was like, there's no planet B. You ever heard that expression?
Say that again?
You ever hear the expression, there's no plan B?
Right. There's
no planet B.
Right. That's right. There is no planet B. So once we ruin this one, it's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could stop right here and we could spend really literally the rest of all our sessions just breaking that down. What he just said, why is it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What evidence would you bring, to the table, Gregory, to show the truth of what you're speaking? Okay, well, we could end the class right here. It's like, why do civics? It's a matter of life or death, I guess, is what I'm hearing.
That's right.
Wow, pretty amazing. Thank you. Group 3.
As a group, we found out it's knowing and understanding our rights and responsibilities as citizens to become active participants in our communities. Kind of piggybacking off what Greg said, like, you want to teach the next group so the cycle keeps going on.
Keep it going on. Yeah. Again, the first thing that I heard was rights and responsibilities. So what I'm hearing there is, as Americans, we have rights, right to this, right to that, right? And we can discuss the Constitution and other legal documents and and then you can say, well, yeah, it works for some people, right? We're not sure if it works for everybody. It's kind of like a promise that's been made to America that everyone is supposed to be equal. Everybody has the right to, fill in the blank. And we're on the path. I don't think we've arrived, but that's on the side of the rights. But then you also said there's something else. It's not just one thing, it's two things. It's responsibilities. So when I hear that, I hear you gather, you bring to you benefits, goodies, whatever you call them, as you say, rights. I have my rights to this, my rights to that. But I also have kind of a duty, don't I? It's not a one-way street. Again, some of the things that we've heard from Gregory and others, there's a kind of a two-way street. It's a cycle. It's just not me, 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 me. I hear this idea of paying it forward.
Yes.
Am I in the right space there?
Yes. Like we have the right to vote. So with that being stated, that's when they call us to do jury duty.
Yeah. Right. Oh, exactly. And the responsibility might be implied to know what the heck you're voting for.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people don't vote and they kind of like, well, they say, my vote doesn't matter. I'm just one person. I'm too busy. I'm working a double shift. I got to take time. We don't make it easy for people to do their thing in America, sadly. It's a separate conversation, but you got to get registered. You got to know where to vote, and you have to have the time to vote. You have to physically go somewhere. Even if you're going to do early voting or voting by mail, you still got to do stuff. It takes time, it takes thought, and some people go like, "I am just too busy. I got 3 kids pulling on me." Life is real, but there's that responsibility word looming. Yeah, people have died for this. To vote, especially for people of color in America. People have died big time. Okay, fine. All right, I'll get the ballot. I'll go to the polling place. I'll do it at 7 in the morning, before I go to work. But then it's not over there even, because you got to know what you're voting for, right? Don't cast a meaningless ballot just to say you did it. I mean, I'm almost rather you stay home than cast a meaningless ballot. I'd rather you spend at least 5 minutes to look up, the candidates and go and say, like, look, I think I like Joe and not Sally. I did a little bit of homework. I'm going for Joe. That's kind of what we're talking about here when you're speaking about the right to vote, and the responsibility from my point of view. But I think, Braxton, you can extend that to other things like the right to have fair housing, the right to, be not beat up by a policeman for walking down the street, the right to assemble, to meet people and discuss issues and protest. We have many, many rights. The rights to express yourself as an artist or as a writer or whatever. If you choose to be a painter, or if you choose to write, or go to your church, say, and speechify from the pulpit, you don't expect anyone to come and yank you and drag you off to jail because they don't like what you said.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we grow up in America. Like, I'm going to say what I want to say. You may not agree with me, but I have a right to say it. And yet that right is threatened every day. So we have organizations like the American Civil Liberties Union and others that have grown up over the years to protect that right for you to express yourself, or to not to be picked on because you're black, or because you're tall, or because you have no hair, or because you need glasses, or whatever. You choose to identify in a different manner, sexually or whatever, from the mainstream. You're not supposed to be picked on, right? You're not supposed to be attacked. You're not supposed to be threatened or harmed. And yet we know it happens all the time. So there's that responsibility thing. Like, am I going to, if I see my colleague or my brother or my sister get picked on because of one of these things, am I going to stay silent? Am I going to let it happen? Again, huge conversation over what you just said, Braxton, about rights and responsibilities. That's kind of why we're doing the class, actually, right? For us to kind of noodle and reflect deeply on both the rights side, but also the responsibility side. And what we're going to talk about in the third session, I think will make it very clear about the action. So how does one exercise responsibility? One takes action, right? So I've asked you in the introduction, remember, that you took a little while ago, what your civic activities have been. So we will report to you in the third session the activities, by polling on your colleagues. So everyone on this call did the survey, and you told me, did you vote? Did you protest? Did you, go to a meeting? But da 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 da. All those, I think there's like 20 things, right? And we will report to you what people have done. And then we'll have a conversation amongst ourselves about that, okay? So that's kind of where we're going with all this. Now, thank you for filling this out. And I would say, keep that page open. And as more thoughts come to you, groups 1, 2, and 3, please go deep and add more detail as you get more thoughts. Because I love this conversation. And I wish we had more time, because each of those points that you all have made are super duper important to me. But I think you kind of get, I think, a flavor for where the people's brains are at collectively. All the interns are kind of, I think you're all rotating around the sun right now, I think in a good way. So we're kind of shaping up here. All right, back to the presentation. Oh, before we go any further into the specifics of what I call civic engagement and the 3 buckets that we're going to be spending our time on, I want to pause and dwell on a pretty important aspect of public life and civic life. And that's this word public, the very word itself, public. I think we need to pause and noodle on this for a minute. And the way I choose to do this is through something called the pay to spray case. And so in order to set it up, I'm going to play this video. It's about 5 minutes long. And the video will explain the case. And then we will take a brief poll. We'll go into small groups to discuss it. But let's first watch this video called the pay to spray.
Kelly's Court is back in session. On the docket today, the American dream going up in flames. Charred rubble, all that's left of the Cranick family home in Tennessee. Firefighters
Can we all hear this and see it?
as flames devoured the house. Not one drop of water was sprayed on the blaze because the homeowners were late with a $75 fee for rural fire coverage. First responders started battling the inferno only when it jumped to the property of a neighbor who did pay the fee. So, did the Cranicks have any grounds to object? Let's ask our panel. Former prosecutor John Spilbor and Fox News legal analyst Mercedes Colwin. All right, so John, let me start with you. He didn't pay the fee. A deal's a deal. He could have paid it. They would have been there. He didn't do it.
No, this is disgusting. This was an emergency situation, Megan. This wasn't rescuing their cat from a tree. This was life and death. And I don't think that the fire department can say, hey, we had a contract and you didn't pay your measly $75, so we're going to watch. Not even like just not show up. Watch as your home burns down. That's absolutely ridiculous. They could have put out the fire, sent him a bill for 10 times that or more, and it probably would have gotten paid, and their house would have been saved. This is crazy.
Mercedes, how about it? Because, you know, they say, the Cranicks say that this had happened before with other homeowners, and the firefighters did show up and did put the fire out. So did they have grounds to sort of reasonably rely on that past conduct to expect it would happen again here?
Well, that's a great point, Megan, but we don't really know. What the fire department comes there and says they're not on the list, $75 is $75, but they also said, hey, if we don't adhere to this rule, then this entire fire department is going to be disbanded, because imagine if every homeowner said, you know what, there is this past conduct, and they do show up and they do put out the fire. They're not going to say no to us. Eventually, no one's fires are going to be able to be put out because everyone in the community won't have a fire department, and that's why they have to be so draconian. I'm sure that if there were lives in that home, they would have stepped in.
No, they wouldn't, because the reports are that there were 3 dogs and a cat. Now, those are lives
human
inside
lives,
the home.
though, Megan.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you're standing there. I mean, you're telling me you're going to look at the firefighters, John, and say, my 3 dogs and my cat are dying in there right now. Could you please put out the fire? And the firefighters are really able to stand there and say, you didn't pay $75.
And apparently that's what they did. So the homeowner should have rushed himself back into the house, because then apparently a life would have been in danger and they would have turned the hoses on.
Right.
This is so, we would never have a situation where an ambulance, an EMT worker would be hovering over a nearly dead body in the street and say, hey, buddy, this ride's going to cost you $800. Are you good for it before I put you in the back of the bus?
But John,
how far could you take it? But she raises a very good point. How far could you take this, Mercedes, where you charge people for 911 and somebody calls and says, my child is choking, and they say, you didn't pay your fee?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really draconian, but it has to be. The bottom line is this. If we don't adhere to this, no one's going to be safe. There are going to be lots of these phone calls. No one's going to be there to respond to them. That's why they have to adhere, because, frankly, with all the attention that this particular article, that this show has had, you know that everyone in that community is going to be paying their $75, and that's the message. These are
yes, they're going to pay it now.
Know.
You're right, but can they sue, Jonna? Can they sue based on those past experiences where they say the fire department made exceptions, and apparently the fire chief is allowed to do that on the spot, but declined to do so?
I actually think they can, and not only can they sue, Megan, I have a feeling their insurance company could get involved in this and say, wait a minute, we're a third-party beneficiary of your little $75 contract, and you should have put the house out instead of letting it burn to the ground, and now they have to pay a much larger bill.
And yet, nonetheless, Mercedes, quickly, does he have anybody to blame but himself?
Oh, exactly right, Megan. Just pay the $75. He wouldn't have had this happen to him, and that's really the bottom line. He was on notice. He knew they weren't going to come to rescue. If he didn't pay it, just pay it.
Thanks, ladies. One final word.
Okay. So, To recap, gentleman in Tennessee moves from his town into an unincorporated part of the county that is not covered by the fire protection service of the town. When you live in the town, you pay your taxes and you're covered by the fire department and everything else. Moving where he did, the fire department does not serve that area. If the residents of such areas want fire protection, they must pay $75 a year to the town. Then they're on a list. If they do not pay the $75 and their house catches fire, the fire department does not put the fire out. That is what happened to Mr. Cranick. His house caught fire. The fire department came because somebody nearby was covered. And there he was, Mr. Cranick, going to the fireman saying, my house is right over here. All you have to do is turn your hoses and you'll be able to put my fire out. They saw his name was not on the list. They did not put the fire out. His house burned down and he lost his pets. The question that I have for you is, should the fire department have put the fire out? Did they act correctly or incorrectly? And we have a poll right now that I will launch. It's called Pay to Spray poll number 1. It's a very simple question, yes or no. Should the firemen have put the fire out? If you answer yes, that means they did correct. If you answer no, it means in your mind the firemen acted incorrectly. So there are 9 of you online, including Gustavo. Everyone should participate, including Gustavo. So we'll get 9 of 9, and then we'll be done.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do we know how long the guy lived there in that small town or no?
All the facts are before you. So we only have what the information came. Yeah, there are a lot of good questions you can answer, but we don't have. All we have are the facts that were presented to us in the case.
Okay.
So based on that, did the firemen act correctly by not putting the fire out? Or they acted incorrectly, they should have put the fire out. 6 have answered, 3 more need to answer. A yes vote means they acted incorrectly. A no vote means they acted correctly. The firemen should not have put the fire out. 5 of you said the firemen acted correctly, and 4 said no. Okay, thank you. All right, so you can see the results pretty clearly. So now what we're going to do is go into small groups. This time we'll have 4 groups of 2. And groups 1 and 3 will take one position, and groups 2 and 4 will take the opposite position. So let me first form up the groups. Groups 1 and 3 are arguing they should have put the fire out. Groups 2 and 4 will argue the firefighters should not have put the fire out. Okay, we're back from our discussion. There were 4 small groups arguing or making the case. Should the firemen have put the fire out? Yes or no? If you're arguing that they should have put the fire out, then you're saying that the firemen acted incorrectly in this case. If you're arguing that the firemen should not have put the fire out, then you're arguing that they acted correctly. And as it just so happens, because we asked you before you went into conversation, half of you already thought one or the other. So the chances are that you may have to argue against what you really believe in, right? Let's be clear. You may be asked to present right now your group's beliefs, which are not your own personally. And you can say that if you wish to. Okay, great. Let's hear from group 1.
Yes, we believe that the firefighters should have put the fire out because 1, the cost of cleaning it up is going to be more than just it's going to be expensive more for this. It's going to be expensive for the city now. And then, on the inside, these families have something that are irreplaceables, memorabilias. You got pets on the inside. My pet alone, one of my pets alone is worth more than $75.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. So cost to the community, precious goods, pets. So anything else?
And then you're also in the middle of nowhere, so like maybe environmental issues.
Right.
And like they said stated, the fire was about to reach towards the neighbors. Maybe what if it became a forest fire?
Fire could spread.
Yeah.
Yes. Arguing, put the fire out. Okay. Group 3, I believe you were also in the same camp. What do you got?
We did think towards to the question that they should have put the fire out because you're a firefighter or a first responder, much like a police officer, an EMT, or a paramedic. When you respond to an, I can't, like, if I call the police or not, and I'll be like, hey, someone's shooting at me, I need help. They're not gonna be like, did you pay your subscription this month though? They're just gonna be like, okay, where are you at? We're sending someone to you. There's typically a lot more questions to that, but that's irrelevant besides the point. But they're not going to ask me did I pay my fee. They're just going to send someone out. And so, yes, he should have put the fire out.
Right. So it's like the duty almost.
Yeah.
The doctor is supposed to treat you. They can't like, oh, I don't like the look of your hairstyle, Demandi. So
yeah, they signed when they became that whatever that job description is, they signed an oath. Specifically for a doctor, they signed an oath that said they will not discriminate or have any kind of bias or prejudice against anybody. They just do their job. They're supposed to help. So
okay. Pretty strong. Okay, groups 2 should not. Why were they, in your opinion, why did they act correctly?
Okay. I think, me personally, even though I don't like the situation, I understand where the firemen are coming from. I don't know about the head, but the firemen themselves that are just there, just doing their jobs, they don't have the power. B is like, what else is supposed to do? They just following orders. I mean, as Greg was saying, that there was an obligation between both ends, and one didn't upheld it, so the other, was just following through with that. And I can't fault that, but I think I think there's more to the situation than meets the eye. But from what I'm seeing, I think it's just the firemen doing the jobs.
Okay. So they're following orders. The policy is X. You can't have everybody making up the rules to suit them, right? The firemen have a chief, and the chief has the mayor, and this is, there's a city council. All this is put in place long before this day, right? And the firemen, to your point, Brandon, it may have been uncomfortable for them, right? Because to Diamante's point, other points is your job is to put fires out. That's why, that's what you do. But the policy say no fee, no spray. So they had to do, in a way, they were following orders. Okay, group 4.
They also can't. I wanted to make another point. They also can't set the precedence that nobody has to pay because it's not free. The fire truck ain't free. Like all the services ain't free. It has to get paid for. It's going to go away. So they can't just set the precedence that everybody can just skip out on the bill and you're going to have fire service anyway, because that's not possible.
So that's a huge point. Let me hit on that. In other words, the firemen of that moment might have been upset and wanted to maybe disobey and put the fire out. But to your point, if they did that every which way, every willy-nilly, then there's no money and they can't be paid and there's no fire department, period.
No fire department, period. Right.
So not only will we not be able to answer the call for the next guy who's out in the county, but we can't even answer the call to the guys who are in the heart of the city, right next to the fire department. It could be, hey, but what, the fire department got shut down, but
or even the people out in the county who did pay theirs.
And they're going to get shortchanged.
Yeah,
they're going to get
paid. Right.
But now the fire department shut their doors. And should the firemen work for free? should I sell them? I'm the dealer of the fire truck. Should I give you the fire truck for free? This costs like $600,000. Huge point. Huge point. Anything? All right. Group 4. The last word. If we haven't heard from Group 4.
Well, to be honest with you, we lost audio for about 5 to 10 minutes into our room. But to be honest with you, this particularly wasn't my. I kind of wanted them to put it out, but on respect of the assignment, I'm gonna play the other side of it. I feel like as a community, you're knowing what that payment is going for. So by knowing that, you should abide by it. You know that, hey, this is a service that we need. Think about it. It's just like having insurance. I mean, it really is an insurance. When you have insurance, you pay insurance not just because you think something's going to happen, but it's a chance that something that's going to happen, and you want to be protected.
Got it. So that is an awesome analogy, Roger. In other words, I don't want to feel like paying insurance. I want to save money. I'm on a limited budget or whatever. Oh, I just fell down the stairs and broke my foot. I'm going to buy Allstate. Hey, Roger, insurance agent, Roger Allstate, would you please sell me an insurance policy? And Roger says, well, we got to send you to you got to get a checkup first, and then we'll sell you the policy. Yeah, but I just broke my foot. You going to sell me that policy, Roger?
No, not at all.
No.
It's
It
too
don't work that way.
costly.
Now, whether it should work that way or don't work that way, should we all be covered? That's another world. That's another conversation that is actually related to what we're talking about. But in the reality of today, sadly, many of us must pay to get these services, right or wrong, right? I'm just saying, and you make an excellent point. The way the insurance world works is you got to pay first, not needing it. And they hope that you pay forever and you never need it. That's the business model.
Exactly.
So because that some number of people will need it, and we and the other policyholders have kind of paid for you. If you think about it. And if everybody lives a long and happy life and nobody don't break their feet, then the corporation makes beaucoup bucks, and good for them. But at least you and I and all the other policyholders have some kind of peace of mind, I guess. What is the point of having insurance? Peace of mind. You're kind of gambling. Young people tend not to take out of these insurance policies because they think, what happens? I break my foot, I miss a day of work, I get hurt, I'm strong, I'll gamble. I mean, even older people, regardless of your budget, make these conversations every day. They make these calculations. Do I save? Do I put money aside? Do I have car insurance? I'm a good driver. This happens all the time. And sadly, sometimes we make a bad decision. A good driver can still have an accident. Somebody comes from your blind side. Damn, I didn't pay that insurance on that policy. I had a policy for years on my car and I let it lapse. Many of us have been in that. Okay. All right, now I'm going to do another poll. Basically, it's the same poll. And it's just the same poll again. But the question will be, the same one. And I guess I'm doing this just to see if anybody flipped one way or another. So it's the same question, the same set of choices. Should the firefighters have put the fire out? If you say yes, that means you think they acted incorrectly. If you say no, you believe they acted correctly. And we were just about evenly split before. All 9 on the call have now voted, and the results have shifted slightly, but not majorly. So this is what you're saying now. I just want to record that. Here we go. So everyone can see a slight shift. Okay. So let's hear from you. now doesn't matter what group you're in, you can just make your argument, whichever way you really think the case should have gone.
I'll go.
And
So-
also, if you change your mind, it would be great to know. Please continue.
So initially I was in group 3, so I had to argue the fact that they should have put it out, and that was the correct thing. Though that was not my genuine opinion. I don't think that they should have put the fire out after listening to the whole video and other things. To shorten it, I do agree with Greg. Those services are not free. Someone has to pay for those services. When you call an ambulance and you need to get some type of medication, or they have to drive you to the hospital, and everything that happens in the hospital is later billed to you. So those services are something you do pay for. Maybe at not that point in time specifically, at some point, somebody somewhere paid them for something. So so I do think that what they did was correct.
Got it. Other people want to agree or disagree?
Yeah, I don't agree with. I think they should have put the fire out, even though my assigned position was that they shouldn't have. My personal opinion is that they should have, because we're talking about $75. We're talking about a whole house, furnished, pets. Like, what's the dollar amount that was lost?
Right.
Over $75. There's other things that can be done to put pressure on him to pay even after the fact. You can bill him, report it to the credit bureau, garnish his wages. I mean, I don't know how far you want to take it. There's other things that could be done other than just letting the animals die and all of his property go up in smoke.
So you could have placed a special thing, so he could have paid $1,000. That's if we come to you, we check the list. You're not on the list, and there's some kind of like after the fact.
Right.
Okay. Other people want to weigh in?
I said that they should have put the fire out, because that is diabolical, listening to a pet inside on fire die. Like, that is insane to me. One. Two, like Greg said, it's not worth the $75. Like, come on, man. Like, are you serious? That's the thing. You don't know. I could have been set up for an auto pay, and I just got a new card. Like, my card could have expired. I got a new card that day or the day before, and I just forgot to replace it. I got meetings to go to and everything, and I'm not there. Like, this is a whole different thing. Like, who knows what's going on?
That's a good one, Braxton. His card could have expired. It's possible. We don't know, right? So you're thinking, give the guy a freaking break.
Okay. Please, I could run up to the firefighters and give them $75, and they probably still wouldn't have done it.
They don't carry the chargy thing, they don't carry the swiper.
Square.
Oh, let me put my hose down, get my swiper. Hold on. Do you make change? There's the fireman. He's got like a coin thing, and he's going to give you change.
You don't even need to give me change, man. My pets are inside. Take the $100, please.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars burned
Keep
up.
the 25 for your trouble.
Keep the 25, yeah.
I will say, it said that he moved to Tennessee, not moved to Tennessee, the area in Tennessee he moved to. You said the firefighters, they don't patrol specifically that area. There's no firefighters designated to that area.
That's right.
They're the firefighters that help them are the people in the next city or next little town over. The $75 is what allows those firefighters to come and help them.
That's right.
So I think that what it is that maybe those firefighters don't have jurisdiction. Since they don't have jurisdiction in that area, they can't really do anything. And that $75 is like paying for them to have that jurisdiction, for them to be able to come and help you.
Well, it covers the fact that this man doesn't pay any taxes to the town, right? He's in an unincorporated part of the county. He moved there intentionally, right? For whatever reason, But part of it is that particular part of the county don't pay taxes into this town where he used to be. So it's cheaper, right? So it's an intentional decision that he made, right? Anyone else want to weigh in on either side before I tell you what I think?
I'm going to stay on the fact that I said no, but I will point out one thing that I noticed. How are you going to do that? But when other people's a burning house and they didn't pay the fee, you still took it out? All right, listen, we can't say that we're going to do one thing and proceed not to do the other thing. All right, listen. Although I still believe that they shouldn't have put out the fire, I believe they should have made exceptions for the other ones. So I will say that that's some BS. That's some BS. That's all that. But I'm still saying no.
Okay. So what do we observe from this case? It's conflictual. I mean, I couldn't have made this up. I mean, this really happened, right? And it's uncomfortable. I mean, you can imagine your house burning down. I mean, whether you have pets or not. I mean, it's an uncomfortable situation, I think. And I think the tension of the interns, you know, have revealed, I think, some of these tensions that some people are saying, like, oh man, this sucks, but I got to argue the opposite, you know, or whatever. I mean, so it's a case that I picked on purpose because of this reason. All right, fair enough. I will now tell you what I think. Your values inform and shape your politics and result in policies. What do I mean by that? If you believe that everyone deserves a thing like fire protection, and enough people believe that, great, you must find a way to pay for it. A desire or belief that doesn't have a way to pay for it is useless. And you cannot have a government that goes on a pay-by-pay basis. Let me put it this way. My wife and I don't have any children, and yet my property taxes still go to pay for our public schools. And I'm okay with that. And you could say, well, Tom, you don't have any kids. You get any benefits. You're paying all 56% of my property tax bill goes for a service that I will never use, have never used. You see what I'm saying? You can't pay as you go. By the same instance, if say I don't use mass transit, I use a bicycle or I walk or I have a wheelchair and I can't get into the mass transit, I cannot opt out of my property taxes that pay for mass transit. And it goes the other way. Say I use mass transit 7 times a day. I don't pay any more for it. I pay the same, right? I use mass transit 6 times a day. I get on the bus, I go to you know what I mean? I only pay what I pay. And in the video, the person said, you know, what will the EMT stop and ask you? Well, sadly, that does happen. People get refused medical service all the time in America because they can't pay. Every freaking day it happens. Is it right? No. But that's not the conversation I'm asking you to think about. I'm asking you to think about if you do believe in something and you believe everyone should have it, not just you, because you could pay the 75. We're not talking about just you, we're talking about everyone else in the county. Then we got to pay for it. Now, in this instance, we have to remind ourselves, this is not part of the given facts, but I'll just share with you, Tennessee is the freedom state. It's a Republican state that believes in small government and small taxes. So politically, the people in Tennessee, I would say, are on the more conservative side, of this argument about government. And specifically in that county, it's a conservative county. And if you believe in freedom, in this case, the freedom not to be taxed, then you have to live with the consequences, people. I'm sorry, but that is the reality. And the gentleman had the opportunity to pay the 75, so he could have had it the best of both worlds. He chose to live where he wanted to live for whatever reason. He liked the landscape. He liked the fact that whatever, it was lower bills overall. But he had the option to pay the 75 for peace of mind, and he said no. But then the unthinkable happened, and his house burned, and he regretted it. And he wanted to roll back time and go, wait a minute, I'll pay you now. And you can't do that. So what would have to happen in that county for it to be otherwise? Well, it has to be a political argument. So I'm going to run for county office, and on my ticket, I'm going to say, if you elect me, I will change the law and change the policy, and everybody in our county will be covered by fire. We will never have that situation again. But in order to do so, everyone has to pay in the whole county $5 more a year. And if I get elected, that's the people saying we agree with you, and we will change the law. If I don't get elected, that's the people saying, we don't want to pay that $5, Tom. We like it the way it is. Well, fine. That's America. Live with the consequences. Now, if we wanted to change the policy for the whole state, it's the same thing. I'm running for governor. And I say to the people of Tennessee, it's unconscionable that anyone in our great state should go without fire service. So I'm going to add $1 to everyone's taxes in the entire state of Tennessee, and that this will never happen again. All people will be covered by fire protection services, but you got to pay for it. You elect me as governor, we make the law, and we move on. You don't elect me, my policy fails. The people have spoken. That's how it works. Thoughts, reactions?
I mean, that's fair. So
Fair. Okay.
the people decide. So
Too harsh or makes sense?
it makes sense.
Okay.
I agree.
In a
Okay.
way that
Yeah, I agree as well.
say all too often, it is what it is.
It is what it is. It's what we make of it, though. You see, and what I'm trying to argue but make the case is that it starts with us, right? Where's your heart at? Because now we're going to get into civic heart. If your civic heart says we all deserve fire protection services, that's a beautiful thing. You got to pay, my friends. That's all I'm saying. If you truly in your heart of hearts believe, fuck that guy, oh, pardon my French, he didn't pay, he deserved what he gets, that doesn't make you a bad person. You know what I'm saying? If you believe you only get what you pay for in this life, I'm not going to fault you. I don't agree with you, but you know what I'm saying? That could be your heart. And you could say, I don't want to be the guy that pays an extra 10 cents to cover that guy's fire protection service. You know, you could say that. I don't want to pay a nickel more than I have to. Right? But that's not what we're at. Okay. Now we're ready to discuss. Let's take a 5-minute break. Is that all right? Do you want to take a 5-minute break? Yeah, because we got one more thing to cover. All right, good. It's 10:48. Let's convene at in 5 minutes. And you can turn your okay, my friends, we're back. And now we're ready to move on to what we call our 3 buckets. Can we see this slide? Civic heart? Okay. I think we had a very good conversation about this word public, which is kind of underneath. Think of it this way. Think of the reflections and the principles that we just discussed lying underneath the things that we're going to discuss now. So what I like to say about civics is this. There are 3 buckets. The first is your civic heart. What is in your heart as you come into this conversation? What kind of person are you? What is your civic appetite? What is your mindset as a person? Then we talk about your civic brain. What should be in the civic brain? Or in other words, what should we know in order to be great civic actors? What stuff should we know? The last part is the civic muscle. What have we done? What can we do in this world of civics? And that's where we're going to report back to you on those list of activities. Remember, I voted, I protested, I wrote a letter. That's part of what I mean by the civic muscle. And that's what we'll talk about in our 3rd class. But right now, we're going to go back into our small groups. I want you to use a Jamboard. So again, you're going to have to go to your computers. I'm putting this into the chat right now. So what you should do is click on that link, and you'll bring up a Jamboard. And the Jamboard is going to look like this. There it is. Each group will have its own page. So there are 4 pages, groups 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what I want you to do is to go to this Jamboard and tell me what kind of person, what kind of mindset do we need in our civics? We're talking about personal traits, right? Appetites, attitudes. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. And we're going to use the same groups as we used before. So there'll be 4 groups. And again, you'll look, depending on how your screen is set up, there may be 3 dots on the lower right-hand side where you have to click on that, and you'll see accept invitation to join rooms. So depending on how you have your screen set up, you'll see them now. Here we are. 4 groups. All right, so we're back from our small groups where we asked you to think about this thing called the civic heart. There was some questions again around the assignment. Just to repeat, we're asking you, what's your disposition? Like, what's in your heart? What kind of person ought you be in order to do this kind of civic work? The things that we've been thinking about, the kinds of people who are going to be putting out your fires, if you will, to solve social justice issues, to be a leader in this space. And we asked you to use the Jamboards. You can still use them even while we're reporting or even after the class is over. I would like those Jamboards to be filled up with the insights from each of the 4 groups. All right, group 1. What should be in the civic heart?
We put, being able to have an open mind and listening to other people often that comes with communication. Having compassion. What else did I put on here? Yeah, pretty much those things.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a lot. So a person shows compassion by what? How do you know that Tom Trusser is a compassionate person? What do I do?
You're giving back to the community.
I'm giving back?
Yeah, by all your knowledge that you're speaking is also you've gone through all these different cycles in teaching everything. You're passionate about everything that you know, and you're teaching us everything and having us learn from you and your experiences.
So you're looking at what I've done.
Yeah.
And you're saying that guy seems to be pretty passionate, which is different from compassion. So yeah. I'm displaying passion by how?
If I may,
go ahead.
If I may, I think like as far as how I would judge compassion is how you would treat others, like how you correct others and how you judge others. I would say that would be a good indicator of
Right.
compassion as a civic leader.
Great. So what I'm saying is some words come to your mind, and then what I ask you to do sometimes is to think, what's the behavior? How do you know? Like I respond to you when you say, yeah, someone should be compassionate, but then I'm kind of like, well, how do we know, Braxton, or what are you looking for to give someone the compassionate label? Like Brandon is compassionate because he did something. I noticed him doing something. You know what I'm saying?
Notice like you actually going out into your community and building and coming up with these nonprofits.
Right.
Like you're doing that, you're not doing this for the money or anything. You're doing this to actually, you know, voice your opinion to the community.
Okay. So again, you have certain markers that you ascribe and you're looking for.
Yeah.
And by extension, the opposite is true. If Tom does all this other stuff, negating that, then I don't get the compassionate label. I don't get Brandon doesn't get the compassionate label if he's running around smacking puppies on the head, kicking them. Like I saw him kick a puppy the other day.
It's crazy.
Shame on you, Brandon.
That's close enough to the fire.
Right. You don't get that. So in other words, we by our behaviors is what I'm saying. You're judging. Okay, cool. Group 2, what do you got?
So some of the things we put on there were integrity, compassion, just like Braxton said, empathy, thoughtful, motivated, ambitious, and willing to challenge status quo.
Oh boy, willing to the challenge. Thoughtful. Well, the word empathy is a big one for me. How do you know what is it that someone does to mark them as empathetic? What are they doing?
To kind of give an example, they see that someone's going through a hard time, so they lend themselves to them in whatever form that may be. That whether it's listening to the problems, helping out whatever situation they're in, or just trying to make a difference and be out there and trying to be impactful or a way to help out
Well,
other
let me
people.
stop you and I'll go back to what you first said. First, you said you see others. So the word see, like I see you, that's the start of it, right?
Yeah.
And then you live through the others. You somehow experience what the other person is experiencing, right?
Yourself in
Super
their shoes.
important. I see you, I hear you, I feel you, and I'm empathetic with you. I'm not experiencing exactly what you're feeling, right? I can't be you, but I get you. I have been close enough to you, and so therefore I am empathizing with you. I am sort of resonating with you. I'm not indifferent. I'm not blind. Would that be a fair breakdown?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we could spend a lot of time on just what does it mean to see someone? How do I actually see and listen and be still, right? So there's a thing called deep listening. So you have to still yourself and really listen. I'm really listening to Brandon. I'm not playing with my phone. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gazing to the stars. I'm trying to give Brandon my attention. He's speaking. He's important to me. I want to hear him. What did you say? And how I can signal to Brandon is I can say, Brandon, I didn't quite get that. Could you restate that? Or I could say to Brandon, hey Brandon, brother, I think you said daba daba daba. Did I get that right? I could do that, right? So Brandon is saying, oh, that guy's checking, he's listening to me. He didn't hear it. He's wrong. And so Brandon would say, hey, yeah, Tom, that's not really what I meant. I meant to say da 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 da. Or what I was trying to say was boo boo doo doo doo. I go, okay, thank you. So what I've demonstrated to Brandon is I was listening with my whole head, but I still didn't quite get it. But I asked him to clarify. I didn't assume anything. And Brandon heard that, like, oh, that guy Tom, he really wanted to know what I was saying. And I gave him what he asked for. I gave him a little more information, right? I clarified. That's kind of the behavior that we're required here, if you follow me. And it sounds obvious, like, why are you even talking about it? But I'm just telling you that in order to do these things requires work. So the other thing you said was willing to challenge the status quo, right? What does that take? Someone who's willing to stand up to authority.
Courage.
Say what?
Courage.
Thank you. Now, courage is another thing we can spend a lot of time talking about. And how do you know if you have courage?
In your behavior.
Right, but can you sit here right this minute and say, I'm a courageous human being?
It's like a mindset, I believe.
The
It's
mindset.
something that you know. It's something that you know without you even having to ask.
I would put it to you, you don't know it until it happens to you. You could say to yourself,
Yeah.
I stand for what I believe in. I say to you, I am a courageous human being until the SHIT hits the fan and you duck for cover. You go, you know what? I ain't gonna, I'm not putting my neck on the line. It doesn't make you a bad person. We don't know oftentimes until we're in an adverse situation where there's some kind of risk to know what our courage is. But I agree with the statement that the kind of person we're thinking about does show courage because they will stand up to the status quo. And that is a risk, is it not? Could be a tiny little risk, but it also could be a big risk, right? And the risks range everything from losing time with your family to going to jail or getting your head busted by a policeman or having your neighbors think you're an asshole because you're speaking out against something they believe in and they don't like you anymore. Or, whatever. Lots of risks involved in this work. Some very small, with minor consequences, let's say, and others with larger consequences. But absolutely agree with that. Group 3, what do you got?
I said on the board, I said someone that shows empathy, someone that is strong mentally, someone that benefits others while keeping themselves afloat, and someone who's well versed in getting their point across while listening to others.
I would say many good points there. The first one there, empathy again, we hit on that again. But this point that I think is important is benefiting others where you're not really trying to enrich yourself. Fair? Fair to rephrase that?
Yeah.
So
that.
Yeah, we're looking for people, I believe, and I agree with you, who are not trying to get rich, on the people's backs. It could be that I'm not saying you can't get paid for doing this work. I mean, I'm being paid to teach you.
Yeah.
But by and large, what we're thinking is the kind of people we're looking for and speaking about are people who are kind of in it for the greater good. And yes, there could be rewards. Like I told you, this is a rewarding experience for me. This conversation we're having right now is immensely pleasurable to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting off on this, right?
Yeah.
So you could say I'm being nourished, if you will, I suppose, right? So that's a benefit. And I think that is a benefit of this work. People feel good when they give back. They feel good helping their communities grow. They feel good helping folk they don't even know, right? And that's part of the human, I believe, in my heart of hearts, I believe that's part of how we are human beings. I think it's part of our wiring that got us this far, frankly, before we blow up the planet. Hopefully we can avoid blowing up the planet. But I believe that we're kind of wired as human beings, I think, to be like that, personally. Okay. Huge point, though. A huge point.
Something that I said, I'm sorry, go ahead. Oh, something that I have put, which we actually talked a little bit about outside of this, even though it's been spoken to a little bit already, but someone who wants to help or make change, but more so specifically, someone who wants to help or make change when the problem doesn't directly affect them or has anything to do with them, but they still want to change something. They still want to help. They still want to make a difference, even though
Yes, so there's a greater good, which I would call as a vision. So we haven't spoken about this, but I think what you're hinting at here is the kind of person we're looking at maybe has a vision, potentially. And that vision is of a better planet, a better community, a better way of being. Yes. And the other thing that you said about being a communicator, very important. And I agree with you. A part of this work involves being able to communicate, being able to persuade people, right? Being able to hear and listen, but then being able also to motivate and get people to go, hey, Tresser, you're right. Right on, Tresser. I agree with you, man. Let's all go down to City Hall and because you persuaded me. You made me see something. And we think that our good civic leaders have that ability to see stuff, speak about it, get us excited, right? And we're going to get into that more in our third session. Okay, final group 4. Civic Heart, what do you got?
All right. What we got is we put a civic heart should display responsibility,
Ooh, I didn't hear
active
that.
engagement,
Yeah.
respect for diversity. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Can you hear me all right, sir?
Yeah, just repeat.
Active engagement.
Yep. Yep.
Respect for diversity, inclusion, collaboration, and cooperation.
Got it. Collaboration, cooperation. And this word respect for diversity and difference, as opposed to contempt for it, right? As opposed to suppressing difference. Like, not only do I not like you, I'm going to make sure you go away. You know, so it's the opposite. Like, so compassion and respect for difference is like, I want difference. I welcome it. And that's a mindset, right? So, and which again speaks to what I would call as a generosity of a spirit. A generous person is going to be inclusive, is going to want to know, what is Roger thinking about? I don't know Roger, but he's got something going on. What's going on with Roger? Tell me more, Roger. So I'm bringing you to me. I'm not pushing you away. Oh, Roger said something weird and crazy and offensive and different. I'm turning Roger's microphone off. I don't want to hear from Roger anymore. That's not the way we want to roll. We want to hear from Roger. We want to hear from people, even if they might challenge us, even if they have positions 100% different from ours. We still want to go, what is Roger saying? Why is he saying it? Let me chew on that. Let me chew on that. That's the kind of person we want. We want more. You know what I'm saying? We want more. Bring it. Bring it. Don't push it away. And again, that's kind of in your heart. I mean, you could be a person who's kind of singular, you know, maybe isolation. You don't maybe make friends easy. You know, maybe you like to be more by yourself. Yeah, we people are like that. I'm like that sometimes. But in our civics, we're speaking now. We're not talking about what you do when the lights are out and you're at home. We're talking about the civics. We're saying civically, we want to welcome. The way I would paraphrase you. Is that fair? Would you say? Cool. Okay. There's a lot on the table. Clearly, there's a lot of valuable insights here on Civic Heart. Please use your Jamboards, even if the class is over. Please fill them up. But before we leave, what do you think is the most important one? We talked about a lot. Is any one aspect of all the things we talked about, what would you think is the most important one? I'm going to ask Maya.
Heart.
I'm going to put Maya on the spot.
I was ready to answer.
Hey, Maya, what do you say? Number one.
Mine was going to be Civic Heart.
Okay, but which aspect of the heart you think is the most important that we've talked about today?
Having responsibility for your community, standing up for what you believe in.
Got it. Stand up. Other people weigh in. What's the number one? Number one.
Courage.
Courage. Got it. Anyone else?
Respect for diversity.
I was going to say, yeah, I just agree with Maya. The willingness to actually do what you say and what you feel. Because if without that, then there's no change. And if there's no change, well, no matter how you feel it, I mean, nothing changed.
So you're looking for the action part. Okay, great. There's no right or wrong answer. You can noodle on that, and we'll return to this question at the beginning of our second session after you've had a chance to meditate on this. I'm going to ask you again at the beginning of the next session, what's the most important part of Civic Heart? My friends, our time is over. I'm sorry for going a little late, but sometimes that happens. In session 2, we will now move into the civic brain, and we'll be asking you to think about what's the kind of stuff should we know? What should be up here? All right. Any last thoughts before we got to sign out? Just checking in.
No, sir.
Yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down if you like what we're doing here. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or I'm not sure. All right, I see a lot of thumbs up. You could be this. You could do this too if you're not sure. That's fine. All right.
I just want to say thank